galactic chemistry. I did a little diagram here. Of all the stuff I've read in astronomical related matters, a lot of people, a lot of these scientists, they forget how exactly the chemistry of the galaxy actually evolves. And before we even ask what kind of chemical reactions take place and at their magnitude and what actually happens, we have to figure out where the majority of the chemical reactions are taking place in the galaxy. Inside of this theory, stellar metamorphosis, I propose that the majority of the chemical reactions take place inside and on the surfaces of astrons, meaning planet or star, those round objects we look up in the night sky and see. And I put 3 specific places on here where it's basically going to be very easy to understand here. I have one in molecular clouds outside of astrons, which is one right there, outside of the object. Number 2, on the surfaces of rocky Earth-sized bodies. I have a little dot, number 2. Now keep in mind, is this where the majority of chemical reactions take place? In the galaxy, on that little dot right there? In vacuum, where there's nothing keeping anything coherent and there's not a lot of heat evolution? Or in the 3rd spot, in the surfaces and in the interiors of astrons, meaning objects like the Sun, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, where the majority of the heat is evolving, meaning a lot of exothermic reactions are taking place and the object is radiating in very large amounts due to electrochemical and thermochemical reactions. Is it 1, 2, or 3 is where the majority of the galaxy's chemistry occurs? I think it's number 3, because number 1, there's not a lot of heat evolution there, meaning there's probably not a lot of molecular bond formation happening. It's just mostly vacuum. Is it number 2, where there's not a lot of surface area, or the interior is mostly, differentiated already and there's a lot of rocky material and stuff can't move around very easily? Or is it number 3, where there's a lot of space, there's a lot of volume, there's a lot of heat evolution, there's a lot of stuff moving around? I think it's number 3. I think that's where the majority of chemical reactions take place in the galaxy. But unfortunately, astrons, meaning stars and planets, are either nuclear or they're inert. That's the mainstream's view or take on things. Their take is that the young, hot objects are the only ones that evolve and have entire lines of evolution, and the gaseous objects and rocky objects don't evolve at all. Those are uninteresting, inert balls of gas and rock that just formed as is, as a byproduct of the plasmatic object that evolves. If you can really understand how backwards and screwy that reasoning is, then you'll fully understand why this understanding is important. That you can't have things taking place in the galaxy where there's not enough surface area and the majority of material is solid liquid material, and you can't have the majority of chemical reactions taking place inside of the vacuum and giant molecular clouds, because number 1, there's not a lot of evidence for exothermic reactions taking place, and basically there's no coherency there. How are you expected to believe that without any kind of activation energy you can just have molecules begin forming in that region? No. You need to have some type of thing keeping everything coherent. You have to have the energy from gravitational potential energy, meaning the whole thing is collapsing upon itself, fueling all the chemical combination reactions and exothermic reactions to take place. And as those bonds form, the object evolves, and all the naturally occurring chemical reactions that take place in the galaxy occur inside of that object. Unfortunately, we have this entire, I guess, belief system that stars, young astrons, are supposedly these fusion objects where matter is created. No, the matter is already created when the matter is already there when the star is formed. It just takes the matter and then combines all the elements into molecules, and it evolves. The process of actually forming heavier and heavier elements in some fusion type event are not occurring inside of stars. They occur inside of birthing galaxies, where the energy is high enough and where the velocities of the material can overcome the Coulomb barrier and cause nuclear reactions to take place. And those happen inside of radio jets and inside of birthing galaxies. And also, it's a very time-consuming process. It's not something that just, oh, well, you have a star that just explodes and then everything heavier than iron is formed. That's absolutely horrendous reasoning. Fusion is a very long-term process. To make all the elements that a galaxy is comprised of probably takes an upwards of many trillions of years. So just to say, oh, boom, the elements are formed in some explosion type event goes back to the pseudoscience of Big Bang, where everything just exploded into existence. And time even comes from the Big Bang, but any rational human being understands that how would an event happen that creates time absent the time necessary to have the event happen? It's a contradiction. So Big Bang fails instantaneously. I still can't understand why they still keep it. It's absolute pseudoscience. But anyways, this is galaxy chemistry, and I just want people to get the locations correct for where the majority of the chemical reactions are taking place in a galaxy. That's it, really. Where are the chemical reactions taking place? And if you point at the sun, you're on the right track. Today is October 30th, 2015.